Few people know the real mystery surrounding Installation 022, a secret so disturbing that, even decades later, it continues to haunt those who dare to look closely. In July 1945, as the world witnessed the birth of the nuclear age, something even darker was happening in the Alamogordo Desert. The artifact found that night, an ancient coffer covered in mysterious inscriptions and an unsettling aura, survived the nuclear blast itself. It sounds almost absurd, but what if I told you that the horror revealed there cannot be explained by science alone? The terrifying stories, the unsolved disappearances, and the fear that followed form a puzzle no one has yet put together, and it might just change your perception of reality. Are you ready to uncover this chilling story and find out what the government preferred to keep hidden? On July 16, 1945, the world held its breath, waiting for the impact of the Trinity nuclear test, an event that would go down in history. Yet, beneath the surface of the Alamogordo Desert, dark rumors began to spread. Something far more sinister was happening. At dawn, two men, James and Thomas, were found lifeless beside a mysterious iron coffer. This coffer bore ancient inscriptions and was tucked away in Installation 022, where horror seemed to take physical form for anyone daring enough to look. But what was really inside that coffer? Some claimed the government was hiding secrets that should not be uncovered, while others believed something beyond human understanding had been awakened. In the stillness of the early morning, whispers grew louder, and the word terrifying echoed among those who knew what had happened. It was a horror story no one dared to tell out loud, a riddle that deepened with every glance at that impenetrable coffer, carved with symbols as ancient as humanity's oldest fears. Even among those involved in the test, the unsolved disappearance of James and Thomas cast a deadly silence over the desert. A rumor spread. If those two had seen something forbidden, what did that mean for everyone else? The terror of thinking that the government itself might be hiding something so dark was enough to keep even the bravest on high alert. The inscriptions on the coffer seemed like a message daring anyone to try and decipher it. But this was only the beginning. The footprints leading to the eerie Charlie house were like a trail into the unknown, each mark in the ground holding the promise of even deeper mysteries. GM and a group of soldiers decided to follow the path, each step weighed down by growing tension. The house seemed ordinary at first glance, but anyone who looked closely felt an invisible thread hanging in the air. Everything inside was untouched, but cloaked in silence, as though carrying an unseen menace. It was a horror story unfolding with every step, and each soldier felt a chill run down their spine. Inside the Charlie house, the group searched every corner, hoping to find any trace of the missing men. But to everyone's shock, there was no sign at all. The disappearance of James and Thomas was beginning to feel more sinister, as if the house itself had swallowed them up. The terrifying situation left a scent of despair in the air. It was as though something in that house defied all logic and natural laws. No one wanted to admit it, but fear was already taking hold of each of them, a certainty that something dreadful lurked in the shadows. As the soldiers left the house, the fear remained heavy in the air, and the absence of the bodies seemed like a subtle warning, almost a veiled threat. The horror of not knowing the fate of the men only grew, as there was no explanation or clue to follow. GM, though an experienced leader, found himself surrounded by a mystery he couldn't decode. And as night approached, everyone felt an increasing sense that the worst was yet to come. In the middle of the night, a piercing scream broke the silence of the camp, jolting everyone awake in terror. A soldier, his voice trembling, cried out for help, and within minutes, the chilling news spread. Something awful had happened at the installation. The bravest rushed to check, and there, under the pale glow of flashlights, they discovered a scene from the most horrifying nightmares. The bodies of James, Thomas, and now the soldier lay around the ancient coffer, each face frozen in expressions of unspeakable horror. The coffer was open, seemingly empty, yet the sight defied all understanding. The open coffer gave off an invisible, unsettling energy, as though something unspeakable had escaped. The coffer's simplicity made it all the more frightening, as if it harbored an invisible terror. Those who dared to look closely felt as though they were staring into something incomprehensible. The terrifying stories spreading through the camp took on new life, and now everyone knew that the fear they felt was no mere imagination. It was a horrifying, tangible truth. Even the most skeptical soldiers couldn't ignore the impact of what they saw. The horror was real, almost touchable, and no one could tear their gaze from the empty void left by the coffer. Those who tried to dismiss the sight quickly realized it wouldn't be so easy to escape the nightmares that would come. The darkness now held a foreboding promise that the unknown was, indeed, more dangerous than anyone could handle. But something had to be done to contain the terror now haunting that grim installation. After what they had witnessed, there was little doubt that something terrible, nearly unstoppable, had been unleashed. The higher-ups quickly decided that the installation and the surrounding area needed to be secured, with layers of wire and concrete to keep everyone out. The decision was made under the cover of darkness, and no one objected. They all felt the same chill. It seemed that no measure of protection would be enough against the horror carried by that coffer, something none of them could even name. Even after the nuclear explosion had reduced the surrounding area to dust, the coffer remained untouched, as if mocking the destruction around it. The idea that an object could survive such power was horrifying in itself, raising even more questions about what was really inside. The horror of that artifact became a kind of legend among the few who knew, a mark of something that didn't belong to this world. The coffer seemed to whisper, silent and dark, that its power surpassed even humanity's mightiest forces. Finally, in 1965, it was decided to erect a concrete monument over the site, sealing the terrible secret forever. Some said it was a symbol of respect, while others believed it was a protective seal to contain the terror. The monument became a quiet marker, a haunting reminder that some horror stories should stay buried. Yet, even sealed, the coffer seemed to carry an echo of the unexplainable, an invitation to the unknown, a presence that, for many, would never truly fade. What would you do if you found out that some horror stories aren't just fiction, but shadows from our past that insist on haunting us? Maybe the real question is, how far are we willing to go to understand these mysteries? Each part of this story urges us to look deeper, to question, to open our eyes to what we might prefer not to see. If you're ready to dive even further into the unknown and uncover secrets that might change your worldview, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This is just the beginning of a journey that will reveal what few dare to know. Are you ready to face the next mystery?